What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, back out with another review. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be reviewing Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. But before we get to the actual beginning of the video, it's up, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you need the channel, because it's more absolute freedom to us, maybe able to YouTube algorithm, and recommend the video to more people, and maybe they could join. And do feel free to comment your thoughts on Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning down below. But with that being said, guys, it's going to also, as well, when the last film came out, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, I did a whole entire review series reviewing all the past films, so if you would like to check that one out, be sure to do so. And this will be all climaxing in a big ranking I have planned, which should be either coming out tomorrow or Sunday, because I'm not sure if I'm going to do a spoiler review for this tomorrow or not. But before we get into the actual beginning of the review itself, let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? So transition and shoes,
Ethan Hunt and the IMF team race against time to find the entity, a rogue artificial intelligence that can destroy mankind.
Alright, so with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, for those who do not know, I love this franchise. I don't think there's a single bad movie of the bunch. I think it's up there for me for one of the best movie franchises of all time. It's at least in my favorites. So when this kind of got turned into, instead of Dead Reckoning Part 2, they decided to just call it The Final Reckoning, possibly ending the franchise, I was going, okay. And I went in pretty much expecting to still think the movie's good, because there hasn't been a bad movie of the bunch. So with that being said, let's just get into the actual beginning of the review itself, shall we? Alright, so starting off with the good here, we always start off with the good here for our movie reviews. And I have the action sequences in here. The action sequences in here are awesome. And there's two sequences. There's a submarine sequence in here that was very, very intense and very, very claustrophobic and very suspenseful in this film. And then also there's the action scene that they've been teasing with the trailers, with the whole entire
Airplane sequence in here, and ooh boy, if you thought that the whole entire Abu Dhabi Tower sequence from Ghost Protocol was intense, this might match it in how intense it is, because it was definitely up there for one of the most suspenseful scenes of the entire franchise.
Another thing I did enjoy about this film as well is the group dynamic that you have in here. So as you've seen with this franchise, they've had a bunch of different pairings in each and every single movie. So for example, the first movie had Ethan and Luther and I forgot what the character's names was, but I'll try to come up with a better example. Jeremy Renner's in the fourth film, and he joins Benji, the one girl, and Ethan. So, and I think the dynamic you get in here as well is quite solid. You have Pom Klementieff. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name. The person that plays Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, coming back with her little side character that she had in Dead Reckoning Part 1, and she has more of a key role in this one, where she gets utilized a little bit more, so you do, like, get a little bit more depth with her character. Also, of course, you have Benji in here, you have Luther, you have Ethan, so I did enjoy the group dynamic we had in here as well. So they usually always, most of the time, deliver with their group dynamics, which I think they did that here. The suspense, next one I have in here is the suspense in the final act. So I was talking about the airplane sequence earlier, and saying it's on par with the Burj Khalifa. I'm pretty sure that's what the building is called, the tallest building in the world in Ghost Protocol. I said it was pretty neck and neck with that for the most intense sequence. I just think the whole entire ending of the film is very, very, very intense, because you don't know
who's gonna live or die, because it is the final film of the franchise. So when you usually get into the final film of the franchise, they usually have high stakes, and they certainly do here. So you don't know who's gonna live or die at the end, really, for the most part, anyways.
As for my final positive, if this is truly the ending of this franchise, which I kind of doubt. I feel like we're still gonna get more of these. I think they ended it perfectly. I think if they did end it right, so if they did end it entirely, so it does it in a way where it kind of can set up a sequel in the future. Then also, it also ends it where, okay, maybe we're gonna end it here for now. So I thought they did a good job with that as well. Oh, I also forgot to say as well, the director in here,
Christopher McQuarrie, has actually worked on a few films with Tom Cruise, ironically, and I think he does a great job at directing yet again in this franchise with some very creative cinematography, I will admit.
So I did think he did great as well in his third film of the franchise, I'm pretty sure. I think the first film he started out with was Fallout, I'm pretty sure. Then he did Dead Reckoning, and then he did this one. So I think he's done great camera work with these last 3 films in this franchise. So that is good done. Now let's move on to the mixed aspects. The big one I have in here is the fan service that you get in here, because I think it leans towards more mixed positive, because some of the fan service moments in here I went, oh, okay, that's really cool. I like how they did that and kind of tied that back into things with the franchise. But the problem, I'll get more into this later with my negatives. There's some moments that are revealed in the film that I just go, that feels like a little too fan servicey, even though it doesn't really feel like it. So that kind of it worked for me most of the time, but then there's points where I went, no, that feels too fan servicey. All right. And my second mixed aspect I have in here is the use of the entity in Gabriel. So, in the film, the Dead Reckoning Part 1, I felt they were used a little bit more compared to this one. In this one, they kind of don't appear that much throughout the whole entire film. They pop up near the beginning of the film, then near the middle of the film.
They disappear for a good 45 minutes or so. I don't know, maybe actually an hour or something like that, until they finally pop up in the end again for the big final battle that they have planned, really.
Which had me going, okay, you could have developed the villains a little bit more, possibly, even though they were developed pretty well in Dead Reckoning Part 1, but they didn't really do that in this film, even though you do feel their presence in the final part of the film and throughout the film. So I was mixed on that. Now, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the bad, which I only have 3. One of them is, I'll save the big one for the end. Well, the first one I have in here is the slow moments. Now, this is very minor, because for the most part, this film did keep my attention alive throughout the whole entire thing. But I feel as if there's moments where it starts to slow down. I was going, okay, you're starting to lose me here. But they eventually pick it back up with the submarine sequence. Then I would say probably the second hour of the film, it gets my attention probably. The first hour is very slow, but it eventually kicks back up in the second half of the second half of the film. So that's one negative. Second negative, so I'm not going to talk about this too in depth, because spoilers, I'm not going to talk about it that much, but there's a reveal that happens in here with Shea Wigham's character. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that actor's name. That I just found was too on the nose, too fan servicey. That's the reveal I was talking about before. So all I'll say is that I'm gonna drop it right there, because I don't want to spoil the film for you. But anyways, that was just Why? Okay. But my biggest issue with this film that I immediately saw while watching this film jumps back and forth so many times to flashbacks. And, like, I get
some of the viewers walking into this film might not have seen any of the movies or franchise or just a spare few. But still, the amount of times they do it where they show you so many flashbacks, it's like, okay, we get it. You can just say it and not show it instead, you know? It's just...
So that kind of annoyed me a little bit while watching this, but still, with that being said, let's bring out the toxic meter. And I'm going to give this a not toxic and a toxic goodness, an A-. Those issues aside, I still think this was a great way to end off the franchise, if it is the end after all. And, yeah. I was, as a Mission Impossible fan that's loved this franchise for a couple of years now, I was happy where they ended it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just my thoughts on the film. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. Be sure to stay tuned in for later tonight as well, because I'll have my Lilo & Stitch 2025 live-action remake review should be coming out. Also, my Fear Street review series should be coming out as well. So stay tuned up for all that jazz. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace.